Hello and welcome, I'm Marco. Today I'm gonna bring you a video that will show you how to sink aircraft carriers. Aircraft carriers in this game are rather difficult to sink because the fleets seldom get into firing range. So I'll show you how to do it with a rather cheap fleet. So I started the custom game as Germany. I'm putting the battlecruiser techs and destroyer techs at 1938 level for the purpose of catching carriers. It's a good idea to always research the ship engines ahead of time, because that will give the fleet a higher average speed, so a higher chance of getting into firing range to be able to hit the carriers. I'm also researching a few doctrines that will make the ships more effective, commander decision making and fire control system. So there we go. Ships at 1938 level, doctrines at 1939. When going against carriers is a great idea to have air support. I'm gonna use battle cruisers, but I could also be using battleships or even heavy cruisers. The battle cruiser has a very high firing range, and by comparison with the battleship is faster. I could even skip heavy ships. Destroyers are enough to sink carriers. They're also my favorite ship because they are extremely effective for the IC that we have to spend on them. So I'm gonna build 3 battle cruisers, 1938 levels, and 38 destroyers. Guess I don't have enough points, need to disband something else, like these old battle cruisers and old destroyers. To sink carriers, the most important thing is the average speed of the fleet. Just as long as we have fast ships, very fast ships much faster than the carriers that we want to sink, we'll eventually get into firing range and hit the carriers. So it's a good idea to have ships with fast engines, and the fastest ship in the whole game is the destroyer. Destroyers with a ahead of time engine are of course even better, and since the destroyers build very fast, it's a good practice, in my opinion, to research the engines ahead of time before actually building the bulk of the fleet. I'm gonna do several tests, a few with the only destroyers and one with the battle cruisers. I'm looking for a level 10 airbase. Gonna put 5 of these multi-roles in air superiority over the fleet, and the other 5 in reserve to replace the most damaged ships. Sorry, the most damaged airplanes, not ships. I'm gonna switch to the UK to try to find their fleet. I'm showing you the whole process just in case you want to do more testing, so you know how to do it. I'm gonna use a few console commands. I'm entering a command to pause the British AI. That country's AI will stop working. Okay, everyone arrived to Dover, so I'm gonna select a few carriers and a few level 2 destroyers. So we'll have 6 destroyers and 3 carriers. The destroyers in this fleet won't engage my fleet unless my fleet gets into firing range of the aircraft carriers. Let's move the fleet to that sea zone. I'm also going to disband all their divisions to make sure they have a 140% officer ratio. Just need to enter the no neutrality sheet to be able to declare war. I guess I'm also going to delete the French units because I don't want them disturbing the test. Kind of forgot to disband their navy, but I will eventually disband it later. Okay, almost ready. The first test is gonna be with 25 destroyers against those carriers. We have a skill 4 Admiral in charge. As you can see, the 25 destroyers are now in range of the carriers and sinking them. Fleet is a bit damaged because the British destroyers were able to fire, and of course the kegs, and also some friendly fire because our positioning is not great. The worse the positioning, the more friendly fire we are bound to suffer. But we've sunk the very expensive carriers with a very inexpensive fleet. Not only carriers, but also 6 destroyers, and I'm pretty sure those kegs were not in great shape after this fight. I'm trying to sink the rest of the carriers. Best way to do it is to wait for them to regain some organization before engaging, because without organization the fleet, my fleet won't be able to fire on them. There we go, they have a little bit of organization, so we sunk the last carrier. Second test will be with 3 battle cruisers and 20 destroyers. Let's see what happens. It's a slaughter. The battle cruisers were able to get into firing range rather quickly because of the very high average speed of that fleet and very high firing range. So it was a slaughter. We didn't, our fleet did not end up very damaged, also because of our multi-rolls that took care of the kegs. Again, I waiting for for the British fleet to gain some organization to be able to engage them. Yet another test. Terrible positioning. This time with 35 screens, 35 destroyers. So, because of terrible positioning, we suffer much more casualties due to friendly fire, and as you can see there, we are having more trouble trying to get into firing range of the carriers. So over here more is actually less effective. We already lost a destroyer, and several more are so damaged that they are going down if we're not careful. We cannot get into firing range due to our dreadful positioning. As you can see there, our 25 destroyers did much better than a fleet with 35. Because of the huge positioning penalties. This brings me to the last test. The last test, we are going to use the 35 destroyers, if I'm not mistaken, but this time around with the commander that offsets the positioning penalty. With such commander in charge, we won't have friendly fire. Basically, we don't have to worry with friendly fire, and all the destroyers will get in firing range rather quickly. So we now have a level 8 Admiral in charge. Let's redo the same test. Because of the great Admiral that reduces the stacking penalty, the positioning penalty, all destroyers are able to get in firing range rather quickly, have a shot at the British fleet. It was a slaughter. Destroyers are very effective for their price, but we need to babysit the fleet a lot until we get an Admiral level 8 skill. Thanks for watching and take care.